Welcome to the Influencer Show with your host, Trishawn Ben Salmi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Influencer Show. Once again, where I interview people who can help influence the way you live life in a number of ways. I'm your host, T7, and today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Bailey. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to the listeners, let them know a little bit about you and simply why you do what you do.
Well, thank you, Trey. Well, I'm Dr. Toby Bailey. I'm the founder, chairman, and chief executive of a group of companies called Borg, ICG Global. We started as a gold mining and trading company. Then we moved to diamonds and gold. And then we realized that there were other earth minerals, such as oil and gas, that were there. So we came into a complete consortium of companies dealing with those earth minerals. Then a few years later, we had a number of holdings or investments in companies. So we created a global holdings group to go along with our mining structure. And then last but not least, in 2018, instead of having to worry about dealing with banks and other intermediaries doing our financial deals for us, I created my Borg Investment Bank to allow Borg to completely control from start to finish all its abilities to mine, to monetize and trade and do financial structuring. So here we are.
Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely amazing. And what would you say has been like the biggest influence on you that you wish you had known sooner?
Well, my biggest influence was taking care of all the participants in a transaction. You always have on each end the buyer, the seller, the supplier, and the recipient, and those in between that act as brokers. If you don't have a controlled sequence in which to get a transaction done properly, then you have all these chiefs and no Indians, and so you don't. It doesn't work unless someone takes control. And so Borg takes control of the project that it creates and works within so as to make the operation smooth from start to finish.
That is definitely so powerful, especially like as you said, just keeping it as smooth as possible and keeping it as simple as possible. As like when people get into business, they want to have these complicated things to seem like the best of the best, but sometimes actually making it specific and clear and just as simple as possible, it definitely just goes a lot further that way.
Yes, it does.
And sort of like, what would you say are your top 3 takeaways from life?
To be a good listener, to be a good negotiator, and to be a good executioner of what you create.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like just listening, it definitely plays a huge role. And just by listening, you're able to actually take in a lot more because, especially like in today's day and age, people are constantly thinking of what to say next, as opposed to actually listening and actually simply actually taking that time to acknowledge what's said and how you can then act accordingly. Really.
Correct. Very much correct.
Yeah, definitely. And what advice would you sort of like give to those who may be looking to set up their very own business right now?
The advice I give to businesses, young or old, new or expanding, is to look at your big picture. Never to create a big picture that you can't perform a start on yourself, which means you have a good business plan, you have a great idea, a great product, but unless you're willing, to beg, borrow, and steal, to put up money yourself, we call it the 3 F's, founders, family, and friends. If you can't find a way to pull from those efforts for them to believe in you, then how can you get someone like me, an investor, to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself? If you haven't invested yet in yourself, in your company, in your product, in your service, in your identity to the world.
No, definitely. Especially, like, I definitely agree, because if they're not willing to invest in themselves, then it definitely does leave you feeling a bit unsure and uncertain as to like whether your money will be actually put to good use, and whether it's like a secure investment really. And I think it's
Exactly.
yeah, it's something that not many people actually take into account, because by showing that you're actually willing to invest in this, it's something that then matters to you, and definitely does once again just reassure that person and just give that added level of belief that this is something that you are really looking to really just expand and grow really.
Correct. Because an investor, their goal is to believe that they're going to make their money back with interest and even possibly gain equity in that company. So many people can go to the bank and get a loan against their good credit or against a collateral of sorts. But the bank just doesn't give money because they like you. They give money because you had a history of paying well, and you have a good asset to give them as a collateral to get the loan.
Yeah.
Investors like myself aren't any different. If we can't see enough equity, enough collateral, enough ability to collateralize our investment or our involvement, then we simply just go to the next project.
Yeah, yeah, definitely makes sense. And let's say you had a megaphone, you could say one thing to the world that have a lasting influence. What would it be and why?
Say it again, please.
If you could say one thing to the world that would have a lasting influence, what would it be and
Oh,
why?
it would be is to look at the world as one big giant melting pot. 99% of mankind, came from the Mesopotamian Valley, north of the African region. And so we know that we all came. And if we see ourselves as a diaspora, of people, that are around uh, the world is small. Anytime you get into the business of finance, of banking, the world becomes smaller and smaller and smaller because everything needs money, to rotate. So my biggest advice or take to anyone in the world is to look at it for what it is. We're all in this together. You know, everything that's happening is never new. So anything that you create that you think is new, it's been done before in the past. So just relax, look at the deal for what it is, make sure that every participant in the relationship, has a win-win scenario, and we can create successful transactions around the world.
Exactly. I definitely agree. Definitely. And sort of like, what would you say are some of the biggest issues that people are facing now?
Right now, we have the COVID-19, pandemic around the world. Before then, people tend to live more carefree. But now that COVID is here, it's allowed some businesses, like even myself, to prosper because people have to sit and think about things. They can't move as quickly, and they have to basically look at other options in which to get things done. We see political strife, in the Saudi Arabia right now, in China, and even in Europe, with Brexit. But amongst all those things, there's still a solution, a way out. As these things happen, you find a way to shake free from it, look at your opportunities, you regroup, and you reassess things, you renegotiate, and then you move forward and execute upon that new hand that you may have been dealt.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, like as you said, just giving them sort of like a new perspective and just making them actually make conscious decisions as opposed to reacting. They're now responding really. And
Right.
yeah, definitely think that it's just more so about like how they're taking it, because obviously, as you said, some of them are taking it really well. They're becoming more aware and more conscious of the decisions that they make, whereas others aren't doing the same, and they're, as opposed to like this whole COVID thing, it's pretty much put everyone on a pause, and some people are choosing to press play like nothing's happened, as opposed to inserting a new track and being open to new possibilities and different
There
things.
you go. There you go. You know, as my favorite saying is, imagine the possibilities. You know, in this case, imagine having a pandemic. Imagine it forcing everyone to sit and pause and think about how they do. Imagine the possibilities of what could be done given our new circumstances, our new normal, our new way of doing life, physically and financially.
Exactly. I definitely agree. Definitely. And like, what are your views on the word legacy, and what legacy would you like to leave?
Well, I like to leave the legacy of teaching. You know, as a professor, you know, in college, a teacher in high school, and even I teach even now. The legacy is to teach others what you've learned. Learning something and holding it inside is the worst thing you can do.
Mm,
You know, you can say, well, I'll take this to the grave. No one will share what I have. But in this case, everything that I've learned in life and business, I've always taught and shared it with people. And so that's what I do, you know, as a consultant, as an investment banker, you know, as a private investor, as a venture capitalist, as an asset manager. You know, I teach my clients, you know, how to develop, how to manipulate their money, allowing them to basically take the full use of it. And once they learn it, is to show others too. Many people trade believe in what's called humanitarian projects. To me, they make money first, then they give from their excess to be humanitarian. I rather show someone how to fish, how to build, how to develop their own processes than just to give it to them. So again, it goes back to the Bible. It goes back to human civilization. You teach others how to do what you do as well.
exactly. Definitely. I definitely agree, because, like, yes, it's one thing to give, but then it doesn't actually teach them the tool. It doesn't give them the knowledge, that experience that they need to then do it for themselves at the end of the day.
Right? Because one thing too, Trey, is that by avoiding the teaching, it makes people dependent
Yeah.
upon that person that is their teacher.
Mm,
And so it would really be rude. It would really be bad business for someone to feel like they can control someone, you know, and their life and their future because they withheld teaching them the very skill, the very knowledge, the very ability, you know, to be able to forge and create their own future.
mm. Exactly, exactly. But just as you said, really, just doing them a disservice, really. Yeah. And so it's like, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Um, that would give the who again, Trey?
To your younger self.
Oh, to my younger self is that uh, remember what you're looking at. Remember your environment and create a new future based upon your current reality. You can't live in the past. You know, woulda, coulda, shoulda is something that doesn't matter anymore. What you can change is the present, and you can affect a new future.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Because, like, yes, it's good to look on the past, that you don't make these same decisions, but it's not about dwelling on it, so that you're basically putting it on a loop, really. So it's just about utilizing the past experiences to then create a better future experience.
Right. And the thing I would say is to look at the surroundings and look at how things are developed. And I know that all my experiences in engineering, you know, in science, in robotics, you know, in developing hardware and software for computers, you know, all became part of what it developed me to be a banker, a financier, you know, and an entrepreneur. So many times being involved in just one field doesn't really do it. You must be ambidextrous enough, diversified enough to be able to understand multiple ways that people make money, and can affect their own future.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially like because many people they often say like, "Oh, it just happened to me," and it equals this. But it's about being able to understand how each and every last one of us has a choice, and as a result of making choices, there's always consequences, whether it's good or bad. It's completely up to whether we decided to do, really. So, like, let's say something may not have gone to a plan, it's because you've failed to plan. So, you're basically planning to fail. So, it's just about having things in place to maintain that steady growth and just maintain that things run smoothly, as you said at the beginning, really.
Exactly.
Definitely. And where can the listeners find you if they like to find out about any upcoming things you may have?
Well, they can find me a number of ways. If they're on LinkedIn, I have a complete profile on LinkedIn. On WhatsApp, they can contact me on WhatsApp, on Skype, and even one of my 3 websites, www.borginvestmentbank.com, or my holding company, borgglobal.com, and then my mining group, consortium.groups.com. But ideally, if you hit one of the websites, all 3 will come up together. So ironically, they're all 3 together. That's why I have 3 spheres.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, the last bit I heard was when you said how the 3 sites to come up.
Right. Another call came in. I try to get rid of it. But no, all 3 of the websites all come together. So if you hit one website, you hit all 3. And of course, there's 3 spheres in my logo, 3 globes, representing 3 companies operating as one.
That is absolutely amazing. I'd like to pretty much urge that you listeners go and check that out. I'd like to thank you for coming on the show today.
I thank you so much, Trayshawn. And anytime if you have a specific subject for me to talk about, I'll be more than happy to specifically go into any form of finance, business development, business structure, whether it's local, regional, national, or international.
Definitely. So that means that you guys will definitely be seeing Dr. Bailey real soon. I'd like to thank you listeners for sticking to the end. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to either contact myself or Dr. Bailey. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. That's it from me. Bye.
Thank you.